Okay, recording is on. And here we are on a Tuesday. It's about 3:23 on April 14th, 2020. And here we go. We're going to cover some concepts of practical spirituality. And this is going to get a little more involved with how we know what we know and how to know that you know what you know. Right? So, um, in light of today's levels of consciousness that we're dealing with, where people have no clue of what's going on in their world, and are very dependent on media to tell them what's happening, what's not happening, what to do, who to stay from, who to stay away from, etc. We're in that light. It's very obvious that we're missing a lot of information, a lot of key things that are right in front of our faces. Okay, and so as always, I'm going to present the Tree of Life cosmology because it is a practical blueprint that can be overlaid onto many levels of life, okay, or many aspects of life. Okay, so you have, for example, you have emotional aspects, you have physical aspects, you have psychological aspects, you have lawful aspects. You know, there's natural law that's involved in the formation of all of these things and the regulation of everything. Okay, so when we get into um, when we get into templates that actually show geometry, geo meaning earth and metry is measure, then we start to um, we start connecting dots with many aspects of life itself. Okay, and then we can actually go out into the world, or we can actually go in. Okay, which is even more true because going in, you can feel everything. Okay, and you have a reference point. Okay? Your center is your reference point, and then once you come out, then you can see in you can definitely see verification or validation of what you're feeling inside. And so the more you live in this type of observational awareness, then we can say we can know truth. Okay, so truth has a is a pattern that you can see on every level, on internal levels, external levels, on low levels and high levels. Okay, as above, so below. These are some of the terms that we've become familiar with hearing. Okay, so I was wanting to get more into detail, and I'm just going to do a brief review so that we can see some of the things, some of the patterns, and some of the scalability of observing life itself. Okay, so there's the Tree of Life cosmology. Now I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to take a look. Going to take a look. All right, so I'm going to go here. Well, I'll start here. All right, try this. All right, telling me I'm sharing my screen now. And before I get started with this, I want to thank everybody who was very patient with me. Had some technical difficulties trying to get on with this new browser. I had pretty much mastered it with Chrome, but I had gotten rid of Chrome because it started acting up. And it's like, well, let me try Firefox. And so I got on to Firefox. But Firefox has its own configuration limitations. But nonetheless, I really wanted to get everybody's participation. But I think I just have to take my time and find a way so that I can just pull everybody onto the platform. I think I can get up to 25, not to 50. I can get up to 25 people And that way, when we, when we have a, a moment where it's time to ask some of the hard questions or ask some of those questions that we thought were unanswerable, then we could, we can really go in there. That was what I was hoping for on this last attempt earlier today at noon. But we're going to do it like this, and hopefully by the time everybody reviews this one, I should have things figured out. I would send some links ahead of time. That way you can already know how to download the Blue Jeans app. I mean, it's free. All it is then is to get the link that I send you and just plug it in, and we'd all be on the same platform. And then we can post it to Facebook, and then maybe more people could ask some questions. Okay, and this is what we're going to be doing, so that we can actually start the real awakening and have the best footing as we move forward in this whole time of uncertainty. Okay, so we can develop our own certainty as we go. Right. So we're going to have challenges, and that's not to say that we won't, but this will give us a better footing. Right. So here we go. All right. So beginning with the Tree of Life format, this is the two-dimensional structure. Zoom it in a little bit so you can see. All right, so the structure itself, all right, it in the structure itself, it has a bunch of triangles. All right, so we see the triangle up top. This would be your Holy of Holy triangle facing up, triangle facing down. This is still considered to be in the heavenly realms when we start thinking in terms of our the earth realm that we live in. This is where the planetary principles would reside at the various levels. Okay, and then we can look midsection. Okay, actually the midsection. There's a triangle facing upward, and then a triangle facing downward. This would be more like in the sun, Venus, and Mercury area of the cosmos, and that would correspond with our cognitive abilities, our executive ability up top, and then our left and right hemispheres, our intellectual faculties. Okay, this would be in the middle would be our just below at the bottom of the triangle here, our faculty that corresponds with the moon, okay, in the cosmos, which is also the mammalian brain, okay, or the mammary, where the mammary functions would reside inside the head, that would distribute all of the glandular information along with the hormones, okay. And then finally at the base of the tree, this would be the terrestrial life, okay. And here's some clues, okay, and I'm going to show you this on the other slide, or on the other picture, the image that I'll be sharing with you. I'll show you this. Notice this is the 1/12, right? Okay, so as we look at the whole pattern, okay, we have frequencies. You have whole notes, of the C. You have half note C, and then you have the quarter note C. Okay, so you see that pattern. Then you have your third G note. You have your fifth E note. You have your sixth G note, and then your 12th. Okay, so these patterns, you can start seeing how patterns, when they start to condense, they condense and they get more dense as it goes down. Okay, so we're looking at density as we get closer to the Earth, and then we have buoyancy the higher up we go. Okay, So density and buoyancy can be equated with gravity. Okay, gravity means grave. Okay, not a mysterious magnetic force pulling, but it's just the organizational direction that denotes, okay, when things are tightly fitted or tightly bound molecularly, they will tend to organize themselves to where they can land on something that's more tighter than they are. And this is where they rest. Okay, and so as just as there is gravity, okay, that organizational downward principle, there's what's called levity, which is the organizational principle of of the expansive forces. Okay, the expansion. Okay, when things are not as tightly bound together, they tend to rise. Okay, just like when water becomes evaporated, the molecules separate, and you have the rise of steam. That's just a simple analogy. Okay, so this is a view of our cosmos. Of how cosmos is arranged, various planes, and when this whole tree of life schematic is overlaid onto the body, we start seeing the same patterns, but in terms of emotions. Okay, and so the higher, of course, you go, the more finely tuned the physical structures are in the head, up in here where the brain, the higher mind is, okay? And then they become more condensed, okay? This would be in the abdominal level. This would be the lower level of the pelvis here, okay, where we have the different functions, reproductive functions, okay, and excretory and eliminatory functions. Okay, so all of these things, you start to see that there's patterns, and this is how you come to a premise of truth. Everything has its pattern, internally, externally. Okay, they match. Okay, up high, expansively, and below, contractively or densing. When things condense. So we've covered those concepts: levity, gravity. Okay, they're not what they what they've taught us they are. Okay, but we can actually observe for ourselves their behavior, and we can come to our conclusions based on scrutiny, based on very logical observation, just matter of fact observation, right? Okay, I'm just wanting to make sure I don't overlook anything because we did cover this. We did cover this model on our last reference meeting, but this is definitely something that we can look into. So when we start combining, yeah, this is what I want to say. When we start combining the tree onto man and the cosmos, okay, we start seeing that there's a unity there. Okay, there's the linkage. Okay, and this is really why we're trying to do this. This is what makes spirituality a practical thing, and this is why practicality in spirituality is a necessity, because it 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 doesn't separate the fantastic. you know it doesn't separate things things that we are not familiar with things that we are. It doesn't separate those. It actually joins the two, because once we come in contact with them, then we can start looking at, oh, this is still the same thing. It's just a different frequency, or it's a different density, right? So so looking at levels of consciousness, okay, these would correspond to the levels of frequencies that are being beamed down to us. Okay, remember down here at the 112. Okay, this is where man resides. This is where he spends most of his life, down here, all of his life down here. Okay, when he goes to sleep, he might get to here to to the 1/6, but for the most part, you know, down here. And for those who have uncovered their karmic mission to climb the tree, then you get some that'll get further up into the heavenly realms. Okay, so this is pretty much all we have here to deal with. Okay, and it's dealing with us as well. So being that we've been incarnated into the flesh, it's our job to actually reach higher in our levels of consciousness to overcome the hardships that reside down here. Okay, and start bringing in the laws and the orders, the lawfulness, structuredness into our realm down here in the level 12, in the 12th section realm. Okay, so we're looking at the whole realm up top, looking at that cut in half. Okay, so that's kind of symbolized by the duality. Okay, then you have the third. We come down the realm as it goes into thirds, and then we got the quarter note, which is the quarter, the fourth, fifth, sixth, and then we have the 12th. So let me move forward so that we can go into how I came to make this particular graphic right here. Okay, keep in mind I have the effects, I have the notes, tones, yugas, the breaths per minute, and what that translates to in the inhale and the exhale. Okay, so here we go. All right, so this is where I started. Might have been a couple of years ago. Place this. All right, so zoom in, see some things. So here we have the creation of light. Okay, so we are living in the electromagnetic spectrum where everything is pretty much condensed light. Okay, but sound, of course, is the precursor to light itself, because it is a frequency. Right, sound is like the first frequency, and we have scripture that talks about, in the beginning, being the Word. The Word was God, and so forth. So I'm sure there's other scriptures that support that as well. Okay. Now, as you can see, I've gone in and I've actually overlaid the tree of life onto the human being, human anatomy, and we can see that each one of these levels has a chakra point, and that has to do with the focused centering of the individual, and that's up to the individual who is committed to choose to climb that tree. Do it within yourself. Okay, when they talk about the revolution not being televised, this is just what it's saying. It's happening right here. It's happening inside of you. Okay, no television can see your level of consciousness or your process. Right. So this is what we're doing here. All right. So here are the corresponding circles. Okay. Remember we talked about the whole note, the half note, third. Okay. You can see I have the geometrical alignments here, the quarters, the fifths of the E, and I have the sixth, and then we have the 12th. Okay, so when we look at the 12th, this is how I knew that this had to do with the earth. This corresponds with the root chakra, right? So, and the 12, the 12 signs of the zodiac, and all of the areas where we see 12 as it corresponds to the zodiac in the Helios Biblica, right? So we're going to go here to the degrees, okay? And this is another piece that we can put together, the degrees of a thing, okay? There's 0 degrees, okay? When you're dealing with a whole note, there's no degree, or there's 360 degrees, I'm sorry, when we're dealing with the whole note. And this is 360 degrees of consciousness. You're able to see in fully in the round, in the third, in three-dimensional, you see everything in the round, okay? And so when we go here, we have to the 180 degrees, okay? That would correspond to the straight line. So that means we can see in duality, okay? We can see the truth of duality. This is what happens here at Tahuti and Sekert, which is your second active creation, then your third active creation. Okay. Here we have 120 degrees in between each line that segments this circle. 120 degrees, and all of these degrees are going to translate into something that we know of as celestial cycles. Okay, and these correspond to the ages. All right, and so ages have specific numbers that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so I'm gonna come right back to that, but I just wanted to make sure that you're thinking ahead as I go down the degrees. And all I'm doing now is just building the practicality of some of the things that actually go into seeing into truth. Okay, so we're just building in some of the practical building blocks so that you can see how everything is related, everything is connected, right? Okay, so 90 degrees. When you get to quarters, you have 90 degrees in each section. Get to the E note, or when you get to the fifth, you have in that circle you have 5 sections of 72 degrees. Okay? 72 degrees, right? So all of these numbers, 60 degrees, 30 degrees. Remember, 30 degrees for each age, all right? In the cosmic wheel, right? That's what we're dealing with. When we're talking about 30 months, 30 days in a month or so, 30 or so days in a month. But this is how this all connects. Right, now let's look at something here. Remember we talked about geometry. Geo is earth, metry is measure. Same thing that we just covered from the whole note all the way through to the 12th. Okay, and these are some of the geometrical patterns that come from all of these. How we deal with crystallization. Okay, so that's what happens when, on a cosmic level, start from the high realms of the ether, and then they start crystallizing or condensing, and then down here they crystallize, right? So that's what we're dealing with. All right, so let's look at some of these numbers here. Okay, so remember I don't even know if everybody was on, but we talk about an age. What is an age? The age is the period of time between constellation energies. Okay, so when the constellations in the sky turn, okay, they expose us to certain types of energy. Okay, and over that period of time, we call that an age, 2160 or 2,160 years. All right. Now you make that a okay. All right, so 2160, you multiply that by 12, you have a great year. Okay, that means you've gone through all of the constellations in the zodiac. Okay, now when we move here, right here to the yugas, okay, this would be dealing with the Hindi um, the Hindi religions, where we deal with the 4,320,000 year uh, cosmic breath is how they describe it. That's how the yogis describe it. Now, mind you, the numbers are so large, they don't correspond with anything that we witness as human beings in one lifetime. So this is how the yogis were able to um, be over the people, because a lot of times the people couldn't even think in those types of quantities. But when we look at numbers, though, and actually start dropping some of those zeros, and we can see those numbers show up. Because when you're dealing with 2160 times 200, this is what you get: 4,320,000. Okay, so we can look here as above. Okay, this will be up at the golden age in the Maha Yuga. But as above, so below. There's that number again, 4320. Okay, or 432. All right, 432. 4320000. Okay, so we see that there is a correspondence. Okay, as above, so below. So you have your iron, and your iron age, and then up top you have your golden age. Okay, now there's that number again, 4320. Okay, when you multiply that by 400, you get 1,728,000. Okay, that would equate to what's known as the Krita and the Satya Yuga. Okay, that's still up in the golden age, right? Now Treta Yuga, that would be the silver age. See what number that is: 6480 times 200 goes to this number, 1,296,000. So this would be the level of consciousness, okay? If we were to do, the breaths that correspond to this level of consciousness. Now you can see how I was able to do everything. I was able to do the math. I was able to do the geometry, the earth measure, and knowing that we are made of earth, okay? Knowing that we're made of earth, there's the correspondence right there, okay? Now, how we reverberate, in terms of frequency, is a little bit different when you're dealing with cosmic cycles and the human body, okay? But it's still the same. It becomes a pulse, okay? So if we can look at a circadian rhythm of constellations or planetary movement, we can know that there is a coming and a going, coming and a going, a coming and a going. That's the same thing that our breath does. Okay, when we breathe in, that's the coming of the breath, and then the going, a releasing of the breath. So those frequencies are like that. This is how we link up with the cosmos, is with the breath. Okay. Now we have a means of actually knowing, okay, which frequency we need in order to achieve a certain level of consciousness. Okay. So now when we think in terms of human development, or child development, we can know the levels, okay? Know the levels of development that happen, with the child. On the other screen here, see if I can get that up here. All right, so on this particular screen, we can see how we have denoted 0 to 6, okay? being here on the bottom of the tree, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, and 18 to 24. See how all of these correspond, okay? And so just as these have levels of development, go here to this, and start to understand uh, what is reasonable, without wasting a child's time, with busy work. What is reasonable in terms of actually embodying or infusing, knowledge through the breath, just by being disciplined, because that's something that you have to do anyway in order to raise a well behaved or good mannered child, is to discipline. Okay, so suffer the children to come unto me is what you have to do. When you're dealing with wisdom, you have to suffer the children to come unto wisdom, while they're small, okay, while they're able to get the right or the um, proper training, okay, and once they get trained in the lower levels here, then their minds would be ready for the higher levels, okay. Still, they have the choice, to continue forward according to what their karma is in their heart, okay. So this is something that I've learned also, when going through the process here, that the person's karmic signature, based on their coming again, their past time here, the attachments that their soul hold on to, they bring it back to the flesh again. Okay, so although they may get the training, they may have other attachments where they'd have to, or they'd be compelled to desire to stay at lower levels of the consciousness. Okay. Others, though, who would want to aspire. Okay. Listen to the word spire. Okay. It's like going up a spiral staircase, or be inspired, the inhalation of the breath. Okay. So we're attaching words. Okay. We're attaching mathematics. We're attaching um, spiritual traditions. Okay. And so we're actually looking at a full body of knowledge. At the body of knowledge. This body of knowledge can teach us a lot about what we're capable of. Just a matter of doing these things. It's not something you have to believe. Okay? It's something that you experience directly, and then you know what it is. Okay? So when someone starts to ask you if you believe in God, you won't feel compelled to say yes. You would actually say, hey, I know God. I meet God every day. I walk with God. I talk with God. Okay? That's if you want to use that terminology. You aren't comfortable with using that terminology. So a part of being aware. Okay. Right. So let's see. Right. So on the far side, okay, I have the breaths, okay, that show that the type of age you can tap into. Okay. Practice this daily. These would become regular parts of your life, and this is when people are becoming awakened. Now, the type of awakening that's happening now is pretty much a rude awakening, because it's coming on the heels of deception. Okay? And when we're deceived and then we're finally shaken awake, then there comes along with it the frequencies of the lower parts, okay, that describe this area in spiritual anatomy. Okay, so you have fear, which is down here. Have shame. Have, these are the areas. These are the chakra points where this is where, when you're finally shaken awake, that make life miserable. So it becomes a living hell of sorts. We're focused in these areas. This is why it's important to go beyond the three chakras, the lower levels of experience for those who want to. This would be in the Iron Age consciousness, where war weapons are made of iron. Okay, and the higher you get, the more noble the metals become. Right. So a word about that. Okay, I want to make sure to get all of these little points in um, about the connectivity of everything. Okay, so why do we call these metals noble? Because they're found on the higher levels of frequency, right? And not only that, there's an alchemical process that takes place where when we strip the bonds of metals, we strip the metallic bonds into more of a what you would call a ceramic material. We have a material that's called M state, or what's also known as monatomics. Okay, and the these are some of the this is what they call the foods of the gods, the food of the gods. Okay, this is the ones that actually they were the shining ones. That's these particular noble metals, copper, silver, gold, and platinum. They call them the platinum group metals. These were the metals that actually tonify the nervous system and all of the electrical conductivity in the body. Some of the that go over the musculature assigned different qualities. Copper assigned a different quality than silver did, and the gold had the highest quality that awakened the pineal gland and so forth. Okay, so these are yeah these are the other connecting dots that you can do in your research when looking at, okay, what's the truth? What's going on out here? Okay, so once we know the truth, we can move with more deliverance, with less fear, with more determination towards our goal to end the war. Okay, so the war first being in here, want to end it, and then we can move out and start a stability in our surroundings. Okay, when you're not moving here and there, you can actually see what's going on. It's the stillness that actually allows you to know by uh, direct sensing. Right. So this is what we're looking at. I wanted to make sure to get through the how I know what I know, because these are some of the small things I wanted to get through. I wanted to get through to connect these dots with humanity, dots with humans and our cosmos, okay, our surroundings, and then the unity between one another, because that's really what we really need now. That, as anytime we're coming here, live on the plane, we need to live one another in unity. All right. So just know that everything that we've covered, all of the number sequences, the proportions and everything, all of those are nothing more than reflections of frequencies. So the sounds, the notes and overtones that form the light that is in us. So that's what okay. So here I have a little quote here. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. That's something that was a mantra of one of my managers and jobs. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So when we're looking at intelligence, we don't have an idea of, okay, how much, what kind of breathing do I need to do? And your your whole your whole mindset is, oh, I'm not smart enough, or oh, I can never achieve that. But there's so much that we're capable of doing because we all share the same blueprint. We all have the same layout, have the same sensory systems, right? So, yeah, this is what I wanted to present for today. I just wish I had everybody on because I know the questions are probably popping up into your minds right now if you're listening to this. But I'm going to keep this one simple, short and simple, and I'll check with you guys to see if you have any comments. I'm going to see if we can post it in a couple of places on my page, on my Facebook page, and on Vera Courtenay's page, The Age of I Know. Right. So once again, thank you guys for checking this out, and let's advance, let's progress. Right. So all right, I'm gonna sign out here.